Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z, and tonight we are looking at the picks and pans of seasons 4, 5, and 6. What are our favorite episodes? What were the ones that maybe we don't rewatch quite as often, and why? But before we go into that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I've been watching Supernatural since that very first episode aired, and I keep watching those reruns and DVDs, and by God, I keep watching this.
Okay, Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a Supernatural fan since season 3. I started writing fanfic in 2012, and as Ellis Colton, I am an MM romance author. I'm also one of the 3 co-hosts of those podcasts. So get this, the lore of supernatural fan fiction.
And I'm Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my modern worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. Fell in love with the show halfway through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons before the start of season 12, and I've been an obsessed fan ever since. So, season 4. The good, the bad, and the ugly. What are your favorites in season 4? And let's go 1 or 2 at a time, and then we'll get to the pans. And remember, we still have 2 additional seasons after this one. So, Elektra?
In the beginning, where Dean gets to go back to Lawrence, Kansas, and meet his dad when he's just coming back from his stint in the military army, I think.
Marines.
And the Marines. Thank you, Carole. And, he gets to discover that mom was holding out on him. Mom was actually comes from a family of hunters. And, and he discovers the roots of the demon deal that mom made. So we get to find out why Sam was a special kid. And there's just a lot of guts of the series hidden in that whole episode. And it's lots and lots of good stuff. We get to meet Grandpa Samuel and Grandma Dina. Gee, really? You named the kids after your parents? Oh, well. And it just, there were just, the hits kept on coming. The first time I saw that, I was just, really? So super fun.
And that's got the Back to the Future moment in the diner, right? Where somebody comes in and goes, Winchester, and both Dean and Henry turn around. Yeah. Carole?
Season 4 is arguably my second favorite season in the whole series, right after season 2. It's just so solid all the way through. And we start really building for what will be the final arc of the first 5 seasons, which ostensibly would have been the final arc of Supernatural, is they didn't know if it would go past season 5. So there are so many good ones. And I'm gonna go with, oh gosh, see, it's just so hard to tell. I'm gonna go with episode 17, It's a Terrible Life. At this point, we know about the Angels. The Angels are trying to get Sam and Dean into their war between Michael and Lucifer, and they're manipulating them like crazy. And so at one point, Zachariah, magnificently portrayed by Kurt Fuller, puts them in an alternate reality. And here is again one of those great instances of Supernatural using an alternate reality, alternate timeline, playing with world structure and putting the Winchesters in this completely different situation, including the fact that they don't know each other or that they're brothers. Dean's the up and coming vice president of some horrible little company. He's all about the cleanses and the salads, and oh, it's just, it's terrible. But Jensen does such a wonderful job with portraying how he's this, you know, go-getter corporate type and everything. Um, Long story short, they of course ultimately find out that that is not their destiny, and Zechariah has to admit that even when they don't know who they are, they nonetheless gravitate to fighting supernatural evil together because some, you know, they have met up and I'm so sorry. They master the art of ghost killing with a little help of a website called Ghost Facers. And to see them function in this separate world, this completely different world, and yet they are clearly still Sam and Dean. You know, Dean may not eat burgers, but he is still Dean. And Sam is, you know, the poor guy at the help desk. But he is still Sam. And the way that they play with it, the performances in it from Jared and Jensen are really, really terrific. And this is a real high point, I think, in the season, and is responsible for like an entire subsection of fanfic that ran with this whole Swesson, as it became called, storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going with Yellow Fever. You know, we get to see Jared and Jensen play such a range of characters over the course of 15 years. And we have up to this point seen Dean be a total badass. Yes, he can have fun. Yes, he can, you know, joke around and play pranks on his little brother. But mostly Dean's a pretty serious guy who ganks monsters and just, you know, knows how to deal with the forces of heaven and hell. And you've got a virus that kills people by allowing them to be scared to death. And Jensen just plays that to the hilt. And I love that neither he or Jared are precious about not embarrassing themselves by playing their characters doing silly and ridiculous things. That moment when they open the locker and the cat comes out of it and Jensen just shrieks like a little girl. I think he shrieks louder than many little girls, and higher pitched. You know, they let themselves go there. They went to the extreme. They weren't trying to save their pride. And it's such a great episode because of that. And we also get to think about the nature of fear because Dean's, you know, staring down his deal, and of course he's afraid.
Oh,
So
admit it. You do it. You picked that one for the post-credit scene.
yeah, absolutely.
That's why I watch that one
Mm-hmm.
every time. Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger, which is a classic in its own right, but you know, definitely one of the memorable episodes of season 4. Back to you, Elektra.
Oh, yeah, that one was on my list just for that. The monster at the end of this book. I mean, season 4 was just followed by hit after hit after hit. That is just the classic. I wrote this scene into my book where my characters came and knocked on my door. And it just happened like right after he wrote it. And this is where we first meet Chuck, who at this point is being listed as the great prophet Chuck. And it is just, it's silly and yet funny and everything. There's the great scene at the beginning where they walk into a comic book shop and the guy says, "You're LARPers, right?" Everything about this is just terrific, including the when they find out he's being watched over by an archangel, they take advantage of it to go after Lilith. It is just such a fun episode, and yet it later becomes so damn important.
Okay,
Just, it's a fun one.
Carol.
I'm going to go with a one that features another thing that Supernatural does so well. After School Special. present day Sam and Dean go to his high school where there's, of course, mysterious deaths and they're trying to figure out what's going on. But we get flashbacks. And I love episodes with flashbacks because we get these glimpses into what was life growing up for them and what are the things that helped shape their characters. And here it's that Dean is at high school, doesn't care about anything except making out with the cheerleaders and stuff, and it just kind of blows everything off because you know what? He knows he's going to be out of there in a couple of few days. You know, dad's going to come back and they'll be off, and he doesn't have to worry about the next test or anything. He's just after the hot blonde. Sam, on the other hand, is now old enough to seriously chafe under the constant travel, the danger. All he wants to do is stay at school long enough to like make some friends and, you know, not have to read the same book 3 times because he's been at 3 different schools and they're all doing the same book. And, but at this point, he can't see a way of that happening because he's 12. He doesn't not have a lot of power. So we see these flashbacks of the boys growing up. They're just wonderfully done. The actors were just terrific. Again, we have the wonderful Colin Ford portraying young Sam. We have Brock Kelly doing a great young Dean, just all swagger and leather jacket, and you know, let's duck into the broom closet for some smooches, you know. So really terrific. The present day case is really good, and the way, in fact, that the present day case weaves in with when they were there last time, because threads are, you know, things were started in the past that have come to fruition in the future here. And so it just wraps it all up really, really well. And in both scenarios, past and present, the boys end up leaving. Although Sam gets to touch base with a teacher who kind of reached out to him, and is able to come to him now as a man and say, you were really influential on me as a boy. And the man's like, well, you know, are you happy? And Sam's just kind of like, well, you know, so thought-provoking, entertaining, and a really lot of great insight into Sam and Dean and how they grew up the way they did.
Okay. I'm going to go with Chris Angel as a douchebag. Now, I think it's very brave of them to have done that title because when this episode came out, Chris Angel was a big deal and he had a lot of magical specials. And of course, he did a lot of stage magic that probably wouldn't have been effective up close. I mean, since I don't think he could fly, there had to be wires, but it looked really good on TV. They were made for TV effects, and he carried them off. And in this, you have an aging magician and two partners, friends who have been with him for many, many years, and they're getting to the end of the road, and nobody wants to quit. And things start happening for the main magician, played by Barry Bostwick, who was just fantastic in the role. And it turns out that one of the friends has a spell book that is, he is helping Vernon Jay do the spells and making things work for him, but there are prices. People are getting killed. This isn't going real well. And in the end, Jay doesn't want to keep doing this at the cost, and he stops. But by that point, both of his friends are dead. He's the sole survivor, and his life's work is kind of trashed. It's an excellently written episode. Barry Bostwick just, you know, nails it. But plot-wise, arc-wise for the series, at the end of it, Sam gets in the car with Ruby. He's been resisting her up till this point, and she asks him, why he changed his mind. He said he doesn't want to be hunting monsters when he's an old man. So he took what happened to the magician and his friends, how they ended up with nothing, as a cautionary tale to change things now while he can. And so it actually pushes him into that arc with Ruby. So I want to make sure we have time to get to the other 2 seasons because there's just so much good stuff. So Pans, give us 1 or 2 episodes that are your, maybe not favorites. Elektra?
Ah, um, lost the name here. Metamorphosis. I probably haven't been real open about this, but the really squicky ones just aren't my faves. I'm not into spatter horror. I'm more into psychological horrors. And this one was just a little bit too squick for me. This is the big Rougarou one where they just can't save the guy and his only crime is that he was born a Rougarou. And you want to root for the guy, he's a nice guy, and he just basically develops bloodthirst and starts wanting to eat people, and it's not his fault. And it just, yeah, that one, it makes me want to cry. I mean, it's really well done, but I don't want to watch it.
Okay. Carole?
That's
Carole?
when I kind of skip to,
Oh.
I feel the same way where it's like, when he's like eating the raw meat and all that stuff, I'm just like, yeah, no, pass. Are you there, God? It's me, Dean Winchester. I should like it because we have all these like the past victims, people they've lost or people who have died, during cases. A couple from Bobby has these 2 little girls haunting him, and Dean has like Meg and Henriksen, and they're all like, "Oh, it's your fault we died," and all this stuff. It just leaves me flat. I had to. It's one of those ones where I had to watch it every time where I thought, I don't even remember what happens here. Like it just doesn't want to retain in my brain. My brain's just like, we don't need that one. Just free those cells up for something more important, like Victor Henderson and Just Bellow. So yeah, that one for me is just like, yeah, next.
Family Remains. It is creepy. It is dark. Of course, the takeaway at the end is that there were children who were turned murderous from being tortured, and Dean is still dealing with all his guilt from torturing and Dean is still dealing with guilt about being in hell. But it just it's not the kind of horror movie I like to watch. If it were a standalone horror movie, I wouldn't pick it just because of some of the themes. So that one I'll take a pass on. Now, if there were other favorites you want to mention, hold that till the end. And if we have time left at the end, we'll come back because I know there are still some more that I'd love to talk about. But I want to make sure we at least touch on the other seasons and give them their fair due. And so season 5, what are your favorites?
The 7th episode of season 5, The Curious Case of Dean Winchester. Why do you think it's the chips? Why haven't you looking at the 500-year-old witch? I'm not sure it's the right age, but the witch is so charming as he charms people out of their lives. He is just, I don't know who the actor is, but he is doing such a wonderful job out of the poker game where he just takes people's years away from them. And he takes Bobby and he takes Dean and he gives Sam the clap. He is just fun. And that should be just this depressing episode, and whoever wrote it just kept it right on an even keel of just enough snark to make it fun. And also we got to see, oh God, the guy who played everybody's favorite doctor in the 60s.
Chad Everett.
Yes, Chad Everett, as old Dean. and he did it so well.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
that one is one that I look forward to watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that one too. I love
Carol.
that one too. I'm gonna go with the end. Very dark. It's one of their really dark episodes. But just really, really well done, where again, Zachariah is pulling shenanigans, again, trying to manipulate Dean into taking the role that Zachariah wants him to take in this angelic war to come. So he projects Dean 5 years into the future, and Dean gets to meet Dean. Only this Dean is hard and jaded, and
And doesn't have a Sam.
he doesn't have a Sam. He does have a very sexy thigh holster, which is very nice.
That thigh holster, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta go for that. So we have this like tour de force performance of Jensen playing both Deans and bickering with himself and trying to prove to the future Dean that he really is Dean. And we get the first mention of the famous Rhonda Hurley pink panties, which again are immortalized in 1,000 fanfics. And it all comes down to this realization that he has when he finds out that Sam has in fact said yes to Lucifer. And so we see Samifer in the white suit in the rose garden. It's stunning visually. Jared just kind of like plays him so not over the top, just very, very quiet and smooth, but so powerful. And we have even that terrible moment where we actually see Samifer kill future Dean. And the whole idea is that Dean will say yes so that this doesn't come to pass. However, that plot backfires. Dean goes back and realizes that, yes, future Dean didn't have a Sam. And so he and Sam need to reunify and present a united front against this whole angelic battle and against Lucifer. So very out of the ordinary. We have this great apocalyptic background scenery. Dean running from Croatoan contaminated zombies and stuff. It just really bleak, dark, but oh my God, so well done. So well done. And then, changes the whole course of things, because now they're on the same page again and they're going to do what they can to prevent this war from happening.
Well, I'm going to go a little later, and that's The Real Ghostbusters. This is one of my all-time favorite episodes. It's where Becky tricks them into going to a supernatural convention. And they get there, and there are other Impalas, and everybody is walking around calling each other Idjit and dressed like Bobby. And they are just completely weirded out until somebody tells them, this is what's going on. And look, the author is here. And so it turns out, and they meet Damien and Barnes, who are two guys who are dressed like Sam and Dean and cosplaying Sam and Dean. But it turns out there is actually a real ghost in the hotel. And even though Damien and Barnes, one of them is a copier salesman, and I don't remember what the other guy does, they have very, very prosaic jobs in the real world. They stick with Sam and Dean, and they are going to back them up as best they can. And it turns out, there was a murder, and Sam and Dean with their sidekicks get rid of the ghost, save everybody from being killed. And the best part, there are a lot of wonderful moments and memorable moments the whole way through it, because it's just fun. But at the end, Dean has been so annoyed at this whole thing, and he feels like it's making fun of him and Sam. And Damien says, well, who wouldn't want to be you? You save the world. I fix copiers. And you can just see it sink in Dean's mind how he and Sam are really perceived from outside as heroes when day to day their life seems so thankless. And the fact that Damien and Barnes are a couple has also led to an awful lot of fanfic. So we see that show up yet again. All right, give us another favorite from season 5, Elektra.
Okay, that's one of my favorites too. They are just adorable. Changing channels, where we get to see Sam and Dean in a bunch of pseudo different TV shows, and we get to meet Dr. Sexy MD, where we find out that that is one of Dean's, little secret obsessions, and he knows a whole lot about Dr. Sexy, including the fact that he wears cowboy boots. But they're trying to they're playing a game through all of the different TV shows, which is find the trickster, and eventually they find the trickster. Although just it's priceless seeing Sam as the Knight Rider car.
Yeah.
And then he goes climbing out of the back seat, and the question is, exactly where was he that whole time? It's just so much fun, and this is the episode where we discover that he's not really a trickster. He's an angel, and he owns up to being Gabriel, the archangel, in witness protection, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so much fun. The Laverne and Shirley type stuff they do, and the medical show, and the Japanese game show. I mean, I'm sorry. Sometimes goofy supernatural is fun supernatural.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
And
don't know where they get these ideas, but God, they're good.
whatever crime show they were doing with the dark glasses at night.
CSI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was CSI Miami, definitely. That
Who
was
wears dark glasses at night? Douchebag, Sam.
I think part of what is each segment they were in, like the show really committed to it. Like they did it to the hilt. They didn't hold back. They just really went for it. And that made it really, just watching Sam and Dean try to function in these different environments and stuff. It's a
remember,
great
they
cast.
clearly
that was
the
that was
characters
going to be
didn't
mine.
the characters didn't watch a lot of TV, clearly.
Well, and it goes back to the actors not being afraid to be silly and, make fun of themselves and just go there and not stand on their pride, which was
Well,
fantastic.
we're season 5 now, and they know they have, fans and an audience. So it's okay to do something a little silly. They're not worried that, they're going to get canceled because they were goofy one week.
Yeah. Carol?
Yeah, I absolutely love changing channels. Love it, love it. So that was the funny one I was gonna do. So I'm gonna have to go with something dark again. Oh no. 2 minutes to midnight. It's right before it's the penultimate season episode. Things have really come to a head. They're scrambling about what they're gonna do to keep Lucifer from rising. It's just, oh no, I'm sorry, he's risen. What are they going to do to put him back? They're putting him back in the cage. Sam's offered himself for sacrifice, which Dean's really unhappy about, but ultimately he has to concede. That's the plan. We meet Death, one of the best intros in the whole show, with the music selection, the big old white car that he's driving with the tail fins, Julian Riching, who just embodies Death so beautifully. We find out Death has a thing for junk food, so he meets Dean in a Chicago deep dish pizza place. Sadly, all the other customers have expired. Um, they're making the final arrangements for the plan to deal with Lucifer. Sam is chained to the bathroom pipes because the angels are trying to get him all hyped up and stuff with the blood. It's just, there's a lot going on, but it's very moody, meaty. We see Dean is just struggling with so much, his guilt, not wanting to lose Sam, having to accept that he's going to lose Sam, Sam dealing with his blood addiction. Um, then you get death in there. It's a big old tasty deep dish pizza on its own, and I enjoy every bite of it.
And you know, Julian Richings had so much gravitas as Death. He just, you know, played that role with so seriously. And he's a unique individual. He's very distinctive looking. So, you know, that's such a character part. And then the first time I saw him at a convention, and he came out skipping, literally skipping. He was such a joyous, funny person. I was like, whoa, I've got whiplash. So that was a wonderful thing.
He was at a karaoke and he was singing some song about like the bluebells of happiness. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, my pick is going to be Swap Meet. This is where some teenager who doesn't really know what he's doing works a spell and swaps bodies with Sam. And Sam has been a teenager before. He doesn't know how he got there. He doesn't know how this happened, but he starts working the case. Well, the kid has never been a grown-up, and that's what he wants. And so he orders a drink at a bar, and you know, he does everything the way a real grown-up would not do it. And then in Sam's body orders this incredibly frou-frou drink with an umbrella in it. And then this much older woman tries to pick him up, and yes, I want to have the sex with you. And it's, you know, he's doing it all wrong, but he's doing it from the perspective of a nerdy 14-year-old who really doesn't know how this works. And meanwhile, Dean is trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with Sam, because Sam's not reacting in any of the right ways. And the real Sam is stuck in this teenager's body with parents and a curfew. And, you know, so it's another case where Jared did a terrific job being somebody else. And Jensen did a great job as a very confused and concerned Dean trying to figure out what now. And it had some nice light moments, which we needed in this season. All right, least favorites. And we'll come back and do a free-for-all on favorites after season 6, but least favorite episode. Elektra?
Abandon all hope. This one is where they decide they're going to go down to where Lucifer has all his doings down outside of Carthage's farm. And it's Bobby and Sam and Dean and Joe. Oh, God, I have now lost the name. Joe's mom.
Ellen
and Joe, and Crowley Lucifer sends all the hellhounds, and it is just a trap in that little town, and they get stuck in a hardware store, and Joe gets mauled just outside the hardware store, and Joe decides to take the heroic way out and says, look, you know, we can build a bomb and I can distract all of them while you guys get out and go do what needs to be done. And Ellen decides she's going to stay there with her, and we lose Ellen and Joe in one great big boom. And that just makes this episode one of those major downers that I do not like. Important stuff goes down. We figure out that Lucifer is really just bad. I mean, he's not going to be one of those fun demons. He is just, he causes really bad things to happen. And he's not someone we're going to be able to negotiate with. So, you know, that's
Okay.
just not one I like to watch.
Yeah, I agree. Carol?
The song remains the same. Anna goes back in time to kill Mary and John. She wants to keep Sam from getting conceived because then there won't be this war between Michael and Lucifer. And first of all, I just found it like tedious. At this point, we've spent the majority of like these 2 seasons on this whole brewing war between Michael and Lucifer. And while we've had wonderful things like the end and changing channels and stuff, we also, it's just like, yeah, Lucifer, yeah. I'm tired of it. I'm already getting tired of it. But the other thing I really disliked about this was before we had Anna who didn't know she was an angel and then like remembered she was an angel and they helped her get her grace back and all of this kind of stuff. And Anna was an ally. Now all of a sudden, Anna seems to have done this complete, turnaround in terms of who she is as a character. And I didn't buy it. I just didn't buy it. Like, when did she become all bloodthirsty and I've got to kill these people because God forbid Sam, after Sam and Dean helped her get her grace back and stuff? That just made no sense to me in terms of character development. Yeah, so I just thought that whole episode was a hot mess.
Anna made no sense. I will agree with
Yeah.
that. As a character, her arc just didn't arc.
No. Like they should have just made her be like a whole new character, and then I could have bought that. But to make it Anna, when we just went through all this other stuff with Anna, I was like, what? No.
I think one of my least favorites is Good God, Y'all. And that's because in the end, Sam tells Dean he just isn't coping and he needs to quit hunting for a while. And this is where he goes off to Oklahoma and works in a bar. And Dean lets him go. Dean is being a real jerk, given everything that Sam is facing. And of course, this all gets resolved after the end, when Dean realizes that they, despite all their problems, are much stronger together than separate. But he's the one pushing Sam away. And and we understand why, and we know he's dealing with all the hell guilt and all that, but he really is very sanctimonious to Sam. And this causes some major problems. So that's one of my least favorites in the series. All right, season 6 favorites. Elektra?
Season 6. Oh, season 6. There we go. I like lounge singers. My heart will go on. I absolutely love the whole thing with Atropos and the little gold threads everywhere and them trying to figure out what's going on, and all the alternate things with Sam and Dean. They're driving a Mustang and they're, in many ways it is a nicer place. And again, with the, Ellen is alive and she's married to Bobby. I could deal with that world. It's a nice world. It was just so bad to see it have to change back. I did appreciate when they finally found Balthazar and they just looked at him and said, "You totally butterfly affected history." And he was like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that other angel in the trench coat. But eventually they force him to put things back the way it was. And they wake up as if it was a dream. once again, yet another alternate reality. They're big on alternate realities. Maybe that's why I like this show so much.
Okay, Carol.
Weekend at Bobby's. I love this. I love Bobby. I love Jim Beaver. I love Bobby. And this episode gives us a glimpse into what is life like for Bobby. And we have the half a dozen phones all lined up on his kitchen wall with masking tape on them saying FBI, CIA, State Department, because who he knows which line he's answering. We see how everybody comes to him. Rufus comes over like 3 times. He's got this body he needs buried, and then they got to move it, and this, that, and the other thing. And Jody comes in, what's going on? And then he has a new neighbor, this very nice, lovely woman who comes over and introduces herself and gives him a peach cobbler and invites him for dinner and everything. And watching all the different threads get processed throughout the weekend when we see Bobby trying to deal with all the, this situation and that situation and the other situation. And Sam and Dean are like in Scotland dealing with Crowley, digging up Crowley's bones or something. And, they're calling him all the time. And he finally has a great scene where he dresses them down and he's like, do you give a heck what I'm doing, what's happening to me, how I'm coping with stuff, all this stuff is going on, and they back down and they're like, you're right, we're so sorry, Bobby, what can we do for you, and all this stuff. Of course he loves them, but even parents get a little fed up with their kids sometimes and give them a little smack, in the back of the head there, a little give smack. So a lot of hilarity, a great lighthearted tone. And of course the sad conclusion where the lovely neighbor woman doesn't want Bobby to come over for dinner anymore because she has been bathed in blood from the monster that got fed through her wood chipper. And B, Bobby never gets a bite of that peach cobbler. He has a fork in hand and the phone rings. So we never see Bobby enjoy the cobbler, but it's really a delightful episode.
French Mistake. I mean, how do you not love French Mistake? You've got Sam and Dean that they find themselves on a movie set playing Sam and Dean as Jared and Jensen. And the guy who's playing Kripke keeps going, well, at least they're talking. Or Bob Singer, at least they're talking. And it turns out they were sent there by Balthazar as a diversion to get Raphael, who's an angelic hitman, off Balthazar's trail. But in the meantime, they're trying to figure out how to be actors. And they find Jared's palatial home where he's married to Ruby. Seriously, you married Ruby? And they have these big, paintings of themselves and the alpaca in the backyard. And it has spawned so many long-standing jokes as well as fan fiction. But, watching Sam and Dean play Jared and Jensen playing Sam and Dean and being such bad actors, Psst, look at the camera. Don't look at the camera.
There's a lock. There must be a key.
Yeah, there are just so many catchphrases that come out of it, and a complicated episode that they just ran with and had a ball with, and it's really one of the classics. All right, least favorite episodes from this season, and then we'll do a free-for-all on other ones we didn't get to mention. Elektra?
I liked so many from that one. Oh, clap your hands if you believe. I mean, they resorted to having Dean basically alien abducted. And that just seemed so hokey. And every time I watch it, the only bright point is Robert Picardo, who I just love. But it just, UFO followers and crop circles and Okay, yeah, they seem to tie it all together, but it is definitely not one of my favorites.
Okay. Carol?
All dogs go to heaven. Shifter guy, he's a dog. He's living with this family. There's like this whole, it's another one of those ones where I have to read the thing 3 times because I'm like, who's doing what? Because why? There's bad guys, and the dog guy knows about them. And, that's really kind of it. And then in the end, the woman and the boy that the dog man has been living with find out he's a man, and he's like, and they kick him to the curb because ew. And I can kind of understand that. Okay, I understand that. But nonetheless, he's, been this faithful companion as a dog. And it's just, nobody's happy. It's just, it's unhappy. It's not interesting. And I just kind of waited for it to be over.
Right on cue, all the dogs. So I'm going to see if I can be heard over this. Exile on Main Street. This is where Dean is trying to carry on after Sam jumps into the pit. And this may not work. He's with Lisa, he's with Ben, he's doing construction work, but it's not working out. And we had seen at the end of the previous season Sam standing across the street watching Dean in the house with Lisa and Ben. And so this is where Dean finds out that Sam has been back for most of the whole year and hunting with Grandpa Campbell. And it just didn't click for me. It just didn't work for me. And I still don't like Lisa and Ben. So, free round here. Which ones did you absolutely love or hate that we didn't get to mention? We don't have time to talk about them in depth, but if you want to mention them, at least give a shout out, go ahead. Elektra?
From season 6, Frontierland, we get to talk about the Campbell family library, and they go back in time and actually meet Samuel Colt. And they talk about the Colt, and he sends them a package through the famous, I send it in my time, and they just tell them to deliver it to you and yours. Always a cool thing.
Okay, Carol?
Monster movie in season 4. Oh, I love this one so much. They actually filmed it in black and white. It's an homage to all those monster movies, the werewolf, the mummy, vampire movies. The it's all about like the atmosphere of it. And they're at a town that's celebrating Oktoberfest, so we have like the damsels in the Bavarian girl costumes and mugs of beer and giant pretzels. But there's these mysterious deaths that seem to be my monsters. And turns out to be a shifter who's kind of never really known who he is or what he is. But he's fallen in love, of course, with the beautiful blonde girl. And so he's kidnapped her and given her a silky dress to wear. And when Dean is trying to rescue her, he captures Dean and makes him wear lederhosen, which is an image not to be missed. It's just very tongue-in-cheek. The effects are great. The way that they shot it is just beautiful. I think it was wonderful that they went for black and white with this. And it's just really, really a fun episode.
Well, they not only went for black and white, but they did the old-fashioned credits, the
Yes.
typeface and everything. So they really did go all out.
And the scene shifts,
Yes.
the way they would fit, the different scene shifts that used to be done. Yeah.
I've got 2, Fallen Idols and Hammer of the Gods, and they're both kind of similar in many ways. Fallen Idols, Sam and Dana end up in a wax museum battling Abraham Lincoln and Gandhi, and it turns out that Paris Hilton is evil. And, it was, given how big Paris Hilton was at the time for her to be on the show in this kind of role and actually playing it pretty well. It was sort of like, how did they make that work? But it's just a funny episode and done very well. Then Hammer of the Gods, Sam and Dean end up at the Elysian Fields Hotel, rainy night. It's like one of those Twilight Zone episodes where it's the only hotel and it's a rainy night and you need to, get shelter. And it turns out that all of the non-Western deities are getting together to talk about what are we going to do about the coming apocalypse. And it's just, of course, the trickster is there, and it does answer a little bit the question of, if there's a supernatural for everybody, what were all the other high-powered beings doing while Sam and Dean and the, Judeo-Christian angels and God were screwing everything up? Why weren't they involved? And they apparently were. So that was an interesting take. Well, folks, we've run through our time. So very quickly, let's tell everybody where we can find you online. Elektra?
Elektra Hammond. Find anything about me at untilmidnight.com. And I've got a story coming out that will be doing a launch at Balticon of a new anthology of Well World stories from Jack Chalker's Well World called Permutations, and I'll be in there.
Nice. Congratulations. Carole?
Is Carole Stokes. You can find me on Facebook in the Continual group and the Supernatural TFWNC group, and on many, many, many continual panels. As Ellis Colton, you can find all of my social media links at elliscolton.carrd.co, and my books, including my newest book, The Case of Thistledown House, where we are investigating deaths at a haunted house, is available on Smashwords and Amazon.
I'm pretty easy to find online at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. If you spell those correctly, you'll find me on all the social medias out there, pretty much all of them at this point. But and I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group on Facebook, but most of the time you can find me here on Continual. So thank you so much for a terrific conversation. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural on Continual. So we'll see you online.